Hello everyone, hope all of you are doing well. In today's session, we're going to discuss one of the most important topic from literary criticism and theory, which is also very important from short notes perspective, that is your catharsis. Now this question is important because it also came in the recent June term and examination of 2023. So without any further delay, let's get started. Now in today's session, we are going to understand how to attempt this particular question for short notes perspective. So I have prepared this entire session in such a way so that you can answer it point wise. Alright, so first of all, we need to understand what is catharsis. So in the context of literary criticism and theory, it is a concept that originates from ancient Greek philosophy. Alright, so we have to understand that the origins of the catharsis lies in Greek philosophy and it is extensively explored in the field of literature. It refers to the emotional cleansing or purging experienced by the audience through the observation of intense emotions and dramatic events in a work of art, particularly in tragedies. Now, let me put it into very simple words. Sometimes what happens is that suppose you watch a movie or suppose you read a novel or suppose you watch a beautiful piece of art, you relate with it, and suddenly what happens is that when you connect to that, you understand the theme and there is a sudden release of emotions that might be by the scene of tragedy or by some grief. You feel with it and you connect, and there is a sudden emotional outburst in you. That particular phenomenon is known as catharsis. Now the term catharsis comes from the Greek word catharsis, okay, which means purification or cleansing. That means it implies that whenever this particular situation happens, that means the emotional outburst in us happens, this particular situation is known as catharsis. All right, now this particular term was popularized by Aristotle in his influential work Poetics. Now I've already discussed Poetics, so I'll not go any deep further in this particular topic. If you want to know more about Poetics, which is a beautiful work of Aristotle, I recommend you check out the playlist of literary criticism and theory, which is given in the description. Now, the next point that you're going to mention in your answers is emotional purging. Now, in literary criticism and theory, catharsis refers to the emotional purging or cleansing experienced by the audience through the observation of intense emotions and dramatic events in a work of art, particularly in tragedy. See, in case of tragedies, what happens is that with the particular theme that the author portrays, we connect it. Okay, we connect it because we sympathize and there is a sudden flow of empathy in us towards the character. We sympathize with the particular situation, and following the tragedies, we also experience a emotional outburst in us. So that is why in tragedies catharsis is more popular. Alright, so in Aristotle's theory of catharsis suggests that when the audience witness the suffering and emotional turmoil of tragic characters, they experience a sense of emotional release and purification. Now, you might have seen like a lot of people when they watch a very emotional movie, they start crying. Okay, you might have seen that. Yeah, a lot of people don't cry, but of course a lot of people do connect and do cry, or they become emotional. Some don't cry, but at the inside they feel a lot of emotions. Now, this particular tragic events in the story elicit fear, pity and empathy, leading to the sense of emotional transformation within the spectator. So something happens to us when we watch such a tragic event in a particular novel or a art or a movie or whatever, and this leads to catharsis. Okay, it's a purification. Okay, it's a cleansing of emotions that happens to us. Now, important that tragedy can act as a catalyst. As I said that catharsis is more popularly witnessed in tragedies, so our fourth point will be tragedy as catalysts. Okay, so tragedy serves as catalyst for catharsis. The intense emotions experienced by the audience during the tragic play or narrative create an opportunity for the psychological and emotional transformation. So if you are witnessing a very a very jolly play or a very humorous play, then obviously there will be no outburst of emotions in you in that manner. Obviously you will feel something. So that is why it is said that catharsis is more popularly witnessed in tragedies, and tragedy can act as a catalyst. Alright, the next point that we are going to mention is fear and pity. The primary emotions that lead to catharsis are fear and pity. Sometimes when we see a scary or a very tragic play, what happens is that both the feelings of fear and pity triggers in us. That leads to the emotional outburst. The audience feels the tragic events happening to the characters and they pity their plight, creating a powerful emotional connection between the audience and the narrative. Now we'll also discuss the same with the help of some beautiful examples by the end of this session, but as of now, understand these points and remember to mention it in your exams. The next point that we're going to mention is renewal and cleansing. Catharsis offers the audience a sense of renewal and emotional cleansing. After witnessing the emotional roller coaster of the characters, the audience feels the burst of negative emotions and experiences a psychological renewal. Okay, so whenever we watch a play, so I'm taking an example of a play, it can be a movie or a piece of art as well. Suppose we are watching a tragic play, and after watching the tragic play, you feel nothing, then obviously it is not that worth it. But after watching it, if there is a renewal in you, that means there is a small sense of change or a cleansing inside you, then the process of catharsis is accomplished. Okay, the next is empathy and understanding. Catharsis fosters empathy and understanding between the audience and the characters. It's very important phenomenon in literary criticism theory. Why? Because it established the connection between the audience and the characters. All right, through the process of empathy, of course, and understanding, by empathizing with the character struggles, the audience gains a deeper insight into the human condition and the complexities of human emotions. Following this, we have contemporary relevance. While the concept of catharsis originated in ancient times, it remains relevant in contemporary literature, theatre, and film. Modern authors and filmmakers continue to use catharsis as a powerful tool to engage and emotionally connect with audiences. As I've told you that the origination of catharsis lies in Greek philosophy, that to ancient Greek philosophy, but it is quite relevant in today's scenario as well, as the modern authors and the filmmakers do use catharsis in their work in a predominant manner. Next is multiple responses. Now this is a very important point. Some contemporary scholars question the universality of catharsis and purpose that the emotional response of audience to tragedy can vary significantly based on individual differences and cultural context. While some may experience catharsis, others may react differently to tragic works. Now this is exactly what I was trying to imply. That means while watching a tragic work, everybody can react to it differently. While somebody might cry and there might be an emotional outburst in that particular person, the next person sitting next to him might not feel anything. So that might happen due to cultural differences or individual differences as well. Alright, so that is quite normal. The next is catharsis and healing. Some proponents of catharsis believe that the emotional release experienced through art can have a therapeutic effect on the audience, providing a form of psychological healing and introspection. Now, this is a claim which is very, very important. When you say that while watching a beautiful piece of play or watching an art or a movie, you feel something and you feel that you have healed yourself, then we can see that catharsis is playing a dominant role in cleansing you and healing you. All right, and the final point, we can mention the variations in interpretation. Different literary critics and theorists interpret catharsis differently. Some view it as a primarily emotional phenomenon, while others link it to cognitive process and moral contemplation. Now again, see, that is quite obvious that when you discuss a particular phenomenon, then different critics and theorists will interpret it in a different manner. While most of us see it as a entirely an emotional phenomenon, because as I've told you that whenever you watch a particular piece of tragedy, there is an emotional outburst in you, right? All right. So what happens is that there is an emotional release and purification which leads to catharsis. Well, that defines the phenomenon of catharsis. Some others also try to understand or try to link it as cognitive process, all right, or a kind of moral contemplation. Now let us try to understand the process of catharsis with the help of some beautiful examples. Now let us take a classic example of catharsis which can be found in Sophocles' play, that is Oedipus Rex. In this tragedy, Oedipus, the king of Thebes, unknowingly fulfills a prophecy by killing his father and marrying his mother. As the plot unfolds, the audience witness Oedipus' tragic downfall and revelation of his horrific actions. The play invokes fear and pity in the viewers as they witness the tragic fate of the protagonist. At the end of the play, Oedipus blinds himself as a result of his own actions, leaving the audience with a powerful emotional experience. Now, this particular play by Sophocles, that's the Oedipus Rex, is very, very intense. Why? Because here what happens is that the king of Thebes, that is Oedipus, he fulfills a tragedy by killing his own father and marrying his mother. Now, obviously, it's a big sin, and eventually, what happens by the end of the play, he blinds himself. Okay, he blinds himself, and there, what happens is that the characters feel sympathy for him because he is the protagonist of the entire play, and this leaves the audience with a powerful emotional experience, right? Now let us talk about another example, but before going to that example, let me tell you that there are countless number of novels which will help you to experience a very powerful experience, and one in this regard is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. Now, contemporary literature and film also often employ catharsis as a powerful tool to engage audiences. For instance, the novel Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini deals with the themes of guilt, redemption, and the consequences of past actions. The emotional journey of the protagonist, Amir, and his attempts to come to terms with his past evoke catharsis in the readers, leaving them with a sense of emotional release and understanding. So I do recommend you that if you have not read this particular novel by Khaled Hosseini, The Kite Runner, do go ahead and do read it. You will definitely find an emotional release in itself. Now, one of the most popular examples that I want to talk about with regarding catharsis is Shakespeare's play Hamlet. Now, all of us, if not all, most of us have read this particular play. The play follows the journey of Prince Hamlet, who seeks revenge for his father's death. Throughout the play, Hamlet experiences a range of intense emotions, including grief, anger, and uncertainty. The tragic events in the play and the Hamlet's inner struggles resonate with the audience, provoking feelings of empathy and catharsis. So those who have read this particular play, they know that eventually it leads to the downfall of the Prince Hamlet following the death of his father as well. But eventually he was able to accomplish the revenge that he wanted to take against his uncle. So this particular play is also a very, very good example to understand what is catharsis. But for those of who are movie lovers, I want to recommend you one movie. Do watch it, because this particular movie will make you feel the pain of human sufferings in such a manner which you will not be able to see or find it in any piece of literature or art. It's the movie by Steven Spielberg, that is Schindler's List. Now, in this particular movie, we see the portrayal of Holocaust and the actions of Oskar Schindler, which creates a powerful cathartic experience for the viewers. The film confronts the audience with horrors of Holocaust, eliciting deep emotions of sorrow and empathy. Now, we have all know about the Holocaust, where millions of Jews were killed by Hitler in order to prove a particular point. Now, this particular movie by Steven Spielberg captures the entire sufferings of the Jews. So if you want to understand what catharsis is and what kind of emotional outburst of emotional purification I'm talking about, or the healing that happens by the end of this particular movie. So how can you conclude your answer? In conclusion, catharsis can be said as a significant and enduring concept in literary criticism and theory, particularly in the analysis of tragic works. It represents the emotional purging experienced by the audiences as they engage with intense emotions and dramatic events depicted in literature. Examples from both classical and contemporary literature and film demonstrates how catharsis can be a powerful tool in creating emotional connections with the audience and fostering a sense of empathy and understanding. So it's very important to conclude your answer as well. So if you mention all these points that I have discussed along with the examples that I have just mentioned, it's very obvious that you will be able to accomplish the entire 5 marks. In fact, in this particular session, I have covered more than 5 marks. So if you attempt this particular answer in this particular fashion, you can ensure your full marks. So this is the video, guys. I hope you had a proper insight regarding what catharsis is. In case if you have any other difficulty understanding any portion of this particular session or any other video, do feel free to comment in the comment section. I'll definitely try to address it in the next one. Also, I'll be coming up with a lot of important topics in the next few days. So do feel free to subscribe this channel and check out our playlist of different MEG papers. Also, I would recommend to join our social community pages so that you don't miss out on any notifications from IGNOU. Till we meet next time, God bless you and thank you all.